Those weren't just tremors, they were footsteps, massive and heavy, as though the ground itself trembled with fear. Something was coming, something powerful.
We challenged ourselves to craft tales that delve into the depths of human nature, where the boundaries of imagination blur, captivating the wandering spirit, sending chills through the veins, and quickening the beatings of the heart.
In the remote stretches of Alaska, far from civilization, lies the Pinesedge Hotel, a place of isolation, but not by accident. Noah's father, Dr. James McCallister, a geologist and environmental scientist, had brought the family to this remote place, along with his wife Sarah, a botanist, and their younger son Luke, joined by their close colleagues Dr. Evan and Lisa Holland. They were told their mission was crucial: study atmospheric changes, catalogue native species, and endure a few months of snow-filled isolation. Dr. James McCallister accepted this isolation willingly, hoping for an uninterrupted winter of climate studies. The Pinesedge was once a bustling retreat, but the harsh Alaskan winters and its remote location mean it's empty for most of the year. The government had its reasons for encouraging them to come here alone. They were told it was safer to come during the off-season, far from tourists. But perhaps, in this silence, there's more here than they bargained for. Noah is barely a teenager, yet he feels the weight of the isolation. With no staff, no guests, and no movement in these endless corridors, the sound of their own footsteps reverberates. He's an intelligent boy, and right now he feels they are not as alone as his father insists. Something out there, beyond the snow, watches them. Noah steps into the hallway and collides with a boy about his age. The boy's vacant gaze sends a chill through him, his voice low and haunting. You shouldn't have come. When it finds you, there's nowhere to run. Without another word, the boy turns and vanishes into the snowstorm outside, leaving behind a final unsettling warning. You're not supposed to be here. The men of the group gather around the fallen tree on the truck, preparing to move it to the hotel for firewood to last through the long night ahead. The sound of the truck's engine hums in the cold air, and the sharp cracks of the tree shifting echo back from the mountains. The McCallister family stands by the truck talking, Noah bored and Luke happy, trying to lighten the mood. He kicks at the snow, impatient. His mother Sarah catches his look and smiles, but her face is tight. The isolation feels oppressive and James's heart pounds, warning him not to let his children stray too far. After a while, he brings Noah and Luke inside the hotel. The boys wait impatiently, unsure of what to do with their energy now that they're indoors. Their father stands in the doorway, silent. He watches the snow fall heavier by the minute, unwilling to voice his worry. But James can't shake the feeling that something is wrong. As the storm clouds gather, he begins to realize that this snowstorm is a cover for something else. In the nearest town, the roads are silenced by the storm. The digital billboard blinks erratically, flashing an emergency broadcast. Extreme weather warning. Seek shelter immediately. Beneath the stillness, a faint otherworldly hum begins to rise. Meanwhile, James finds himself on a supply run. His mission is to retrieve specialized ice core drilling equipment and weather sensors for the climatology study. Out here, surrounded by nothing but water and cold, he feels more vulnerable than ever. The ocean stretches endlessly, the horizon blending into the storm, and yet he feels it. Presence. It's as though something that doesn't belong. As the boat crests another towering wave, the captain pulls James aside, his face grim. "You know what they say about these waters?" he asks. "Men vanish here. Entire ships swallowed whole. There's something beneath, something no one talks about, but they should." James tries to dismiss it, but the dread in the captain's voice sticks with him. Inside the boat, the captain speaks to James and Evan, recounting a strange, unnerving sea story. "I've been on this sea a long time. I've seen things. Strange storms, ships appearing out of nowhere, then disappearing like they were never there." The captain, tugging off his tie with a tense hand, tells the story of an ill-fated ship lost in the icy waters. The crew disappeared, but their last transmission spoke of something vast, a monstrous being that emerged from the storm. That ship, he believes, was no coincidence. It was drawn to the same place that the McCallisters now find themselves. Back at the hotel, snow piles high, isolating the building more and more in white. Lisa watches from the window, realizing they're trapped. As Noah's fingers hover over the remote, bored and cold, the TV crackles, the signal cutting out. He tries to adjust the remote, his fingers cold and restless, but the screen flickers. White noise fills the room, its eerie hum grating against the silence. A chill crawls down his spine. He tries to brush it off as the storm, but something feels off. The air grows heavier, and in the back of his mind, a voice whispers that something is drawing closer. Something vast and hungry. Throughout the hotel, electronics fail one by one, the static droning a haunting melody in the empty halls. The walls tremble as though shuddering under a weight unseen. Late that night, James sat in the hotel's old library reading through dusty records. He uncovered old accounts of similar storms. The hotel had stood through hundreds of them, each time families had disappeared, never to be found. It was the same pattern. People arrived, the storm raged, and then the storm passed. It was always waiting. The hotel, once a sanctuary of quiet, feels like a creature holding its breath, anticipating a coming horror. The vibrations pulse through the room in heavy, deliberate beats. Something large is coming. The McCallisters and the Hollands are no longer alone, and whatever approaches holds no welcome. Lisa watches the elevator door intently, unable to move. Every creak of the building seems to echo through her bones, a constant reminder that the storm is no longer the greatest threat. She feels it, a presence that lurks beyond the walls. It's coming. They all leave from the backside of the hotel, heading towards the cars, and that's when they see it. The shelter stands isolated against the storm. From the outside, it looks small, its walls seemingly impenetrable. Rumours swirl that a man lives there, a figure shrouded in mystery known only for the weapons he keeps at his side. No one truly knows what lurks behind those walls, what drives the man to stay out here, hidden from the world. But perhaps in the end he is not a threat, but a guardian angel watching over the desolate land. The two mothers, Lisa and Sarah, stand staring into the swirling snow. "Do you feel it?" Sarah asks. "It's not just the storm." The man from the shelter arrives then, carrying them a gun. His face etched with years of survival. He looks at them with cold, piercing eyes, and they feel his gaze heavy and full of secrets. He's seen things that can't be explained. His voice is low and measured as he speaks, warning them in hushed tones. "You don't know what's coming, but I do." Lisa stands apart, clutching her coat tight around her. She stares at Evan. "I can't do this, Evan. I can't. Whatever's out there, it's beyond us." Her husband tightens his grip on the rifle, but his face softens. He wants to reassure her, but he knows her fears run deeper than he can soothe. For Lisa, something snapped. Something primal telling her to flee while she still can. Her breath is quick. Lisa's eyes flicker between Evan and the truck, the lure of escape stronger than her loyalty. But she pauses, knowing the others are watching her. Her shoulders drop as her husband steps forward, torn between fighting beside the others and following her out of this nightmare. For Lisa, survival means running, and nothing else matters now. The clock is counting down to something, and they know it's not just a storm anymore. Whatever is coming, it's inevitable. 3 figures approach now, each one moving with deliberate caution. These men are from the mountain rescue team. The leader pulls down his mask. "We're here to help," he says. There's no more time for hesitation. The storm is not the only enemy here. Something far worse is closing in. But there's a tremor in his voice, an unspoken fear shared by all who've come close to this forsaken place. They came because the man from the shelter had brought them. As they approached, they raised their guns, because whatever it was already there. And then, they see it. The creature, born of the storm itself, takes shape before their eyes. It shifts, morphs, and pulses with an unholy rhythm. Its form is like nothing they've ever seen, an entity that should never have existed, its eyes gleaming with hunger. The storm has delivered it, and now they must face it. There's no turning back. With every shot, its form contorting into something even more monstrous. James' shot cracks through the air, echoing across the snowy landscape. The flare lands with a sickening thud, and the creature pauses, then turns unscathed. A dark fire that defies the biting cold. Its power is unimaginable, ancient as the mountains around them. The air thickens, every breath feeling like it might be their last as they watch in horror. James, desperate to protect his family, finds a truck. The storm was never meant to stop. It was meant to keep them here forever. The research team of Arctic Bioresearch, sponsors of this very hotel, brought them here to study something unknown. The family is unaware that their visit was carefully orchestrated. As the man from the shelter had told them, this hotel had always been here, built on land with ancient, unspeakable ties, and those who stayed never left. An officer steps carefully through the snow, his breath visible in the morning light. He doesn't know if the creature survived, if it's lurking nearby, or if it's already here. Whatever was once hidden in the mountains has broken free, and no one is safe. This storm would never end.
In our next episode, a man discovers a mask that unleashes his darkest side. As it transforms him into something terrifying, he must face the battle between power and destruction. Will he survive, or will New York fall to the terror he's becoming?